accommodate.
All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly not podcast, but the Move Swiftly platform, we've gone from podcast to platform these days. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. To my regular listeners, you already know how we get down. It's become the expectation, whatever the challenge is, whatever the roadblock is, whatever it is you are going through that you think is getting in the way of your success. We are here to indirectly tell you you are not going through it alone. Today, we are about to get a master's class on both LinkedIn and AI, a combination, the double threat, right? AI and LinkedIn. If you're business folks, and I know most of the people that tune into the show are business owners of 20 or more. Today I have Mr. Al Kushner. He's wrote multiple books. The one that really caught my attention and the thing that I really would love for you to dive into is the AI LinkedIn advantage because AI is so new. LinkedIn isn't really that old. I mean, it isn't newer, but there's old school concepts mixed with newer philosophies. So before we get there though, can you just kind of talk us through a little bit about your background? I know you did some things in the medical world and all that kind of stuff. Kind of catch us up to speed in terms of how you got where you are, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, I was in insurance for, well, at least 3 decades, focusing on Medicare. And my last book, Virtual Medicare, actually won Gold award in the Reader's Favorite Choice Award. So it was really great achievement. And but I've been on LinkedIn for over 20 years and
Hmm.
using that platform to really make quality connections with people. And it really evolved since the time it was incepted, I think back in 2006, I believe.
Yeah.
And ever since they got taken over by Microsoft, it's really grown exponentially. I
Hmm.
mean, you have close to 900 million people, I believe, are on LinkedIn, maybe more.
Hmm.
So it's really something that I needed uh, to get a handle on. If all the social media is out there, if you're going to be an expert in one, you focus it on what works for you, which is the business side, and
Hmm.
LinkedIn is really the way to go. So for me, it was a no-brainer.
Right. Now, when you talk about your time in the insurance world, that's a world that it requires you to deal with people directly. Obviously, you have to have a lot of details. You have to have a lot of answers in terms of what you're able to offer people. How has that 30 years, those 3 decades of experience, like you just said, how has that helped you now when you're building out the kind of the concepts and the work you're doing now? How, like, walk us through a little bit about how those experiences helped you.
Well, back in the days when there were no internet at
Yeah, that's
all.
what I say. Like, if there's no internet, you had to actually shake hands and meet people, call. Like, there was a phone where you have to actually dial and call people and all that. Do you guys remember those days where you couldn't just text everyone and then, stuff works out? So, yeah, walk us through that a little bit.
Well, this was something that was back in the day when cold calling was pretty much the norm, and
Hmm.
maybe not so much today. But it's a way in which you actually get to reach people on the phone on an answering service. Not finding out what your caller ID is, which is much more challenging nowadays. And people say it was easier back in the day. I
Hmm.
think it's easier now because with the internet and access to features like Zoom, where we're on, you can meet people anywhere you want around the world.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really a game changer as soon as the internet was evolving back in the early 2000s. And I think it was just something that I had to be aware of, and it was important for me because if I didn't do it, then I'll be left behind. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be, on top of things. And I kept up with everything that was out there and learned. And it really was so vital in growing the business that I was really taken back by some of the things that were really, amazing nowadays. For example, when you are meeting with a client and you got to get a wet signature, it was like sometimes if they missed a signature on an application, you got to run back to the client again
Hmm.
and meet with them. And oh, you missed a signature. Nowadays, it's so much easier. It's e-signed, which is great.
Hmm.
I
Yep.
wish I had that back in those days. And these were
Exactly.
table sales. I mean, it was just challenging.
Hmm.
But these days, it's especially with AI nowadays, it
Hmm.
really becomes a great way to connect with people. If you want to become a thought leader on LinkedIn, you got to have AI to help you to really uh, give you that leg up because it's going to help you create content. It's going to help you write scripts for videos.
Right.
It's going to help you respond to influencers who are online. So these are just some of the tips that I showcase in my book. So
Yeah.
just
And we're gonna get into that. I do want to make sure because I personally I use something called Go High Level, and I've been using ChatGPT a lot, and it's gotten to the point where they know me and they know exactly what I'm going to ask and how I respond. And they've collected so much data on me that I'm able to utilize the AI world and then have it all go out to whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all in one like post because they're a platform that sets that up. But I'm curious now when it comes to how you do it or how things were as you came into this world. What was school like for you? Like, when it comes to school and you kind of picking this career, picking this site, was this something that you had planned on doing, or was it something that you kind of fell into as you were going through school? Like, some of the listeners now, they have such a difficult time figuring out who the right person is that they're going to hire. And school too often becomes something that is like the barometer. You have a degree here, then all of a sudden you deserve a job. But obviously, there are other things that you can be serving, and obviously, there are other things that you can be doing to make it. So, school isn't as big as it's important, but it's also important to learn these skills as well.
Yeah, well, you really need to be educated on things that are of value, and that's something that back in the day, of course, the internet didn't exist then, and there wasn't courses on how to
Yeah,
use GPT,
yeah.
you know. But the fact was is that I studied marketing and I had learned, actually went to high school in Manhattan and studied art, for 3 years,
Uh,
and that was a really highly prized school, the art High School of Art and Design. I'm not sure if
okay.
you're familiar in
Yeah,
Manhattan.
I went to Stony Brook, so
Oh, okay.
yeah. I'm familiar with that. The New York schools for sure.
So, it actually helped me a lot in helping, create designs for ads and for my book. And so I really got a lot of experience for that, even though it was not, the technology was not where it is at now,
Mhm,
but it's still, still applicable to so many things. I use Canva, for example, to
mhm,
draw up, ads and things, where back in the day it was paste up in mechanicals. Think
mhm.
about the time of that show on TV with John Hamm, Mad Men.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. I've heard of them.
So you see in the days when they did artwork and things like that,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
that
yeah.
I was trained on at that time, and now it was, it's amazing how times have changed, but it's still the principles are there. There's still if you have that talent in you, you can use it for so many other applications. So, and then I decided to go into areas that involve sales, and insurance was a natural for me, and was really taken back by the opportunities were available. I was able to work for myself, which was great.
Mhm,
Always was independent since I was 21, and for me, it's something that if I want to become an authority in what I do right now, I had to write a book for that
mhm,
purpose. So I
mhm.
wrote a book on Medicare, and now I'm writing a book on LinkedIn, and I really decided it was that's the direction I wanted to take. So there's opportunities for me to do speaking engagements. I train people on the internet how to use LinkedIn, optimize their profile.
Right.
So it's a really great opportunity to be a part of that in this
Yeah.
day and age.
Yeah, so let's bring it current. What kinds of things do you train them on when it comes to how to do it? And I'll kind of give you the flow because this example is something I actually put an article about on LinkedIn. It was actually, I was using ChatGPT to try to get on more podcasts. So I just put in a prompt and I said, hey, send me a list of names of people that I would make a great guest on their podcast. So I had a universal message and ChatGPT basically said something like they put the message out there, I love your show, yada yada yada. And I didn't take the time to proofread it, like read through it, and I sent it out, and somebody responds saying, "Hey, we never have guests." So it helped my prompt. Like after doing that, it was a mistake, and that helped my prompt. But it also taught me when you're using it, it's important that you don't, let it do everything. The human brain and the human person that's actually prompting it has to really, really have it clear in terms of what it is they're going to do. So, how do you address that? How do you teach that? Walk us through a little bit about how you're able to monetize that part of it and teach that element.
Well, in your example over there, when I went out to reach out to podcasts, I
Mhm.
used a platform called Refonic, um,
Rephonic, okay.
right, and it shows me which podcasts are accepting guests and
Ah, okay.
which podcasts are, not only just accepting guests, but also current, that they have the last episode within 30 days. And that's something that's important because you could send out blast of people to reach. And a lot of times,
Hmm.
not only will it fall on deaf ears, but it'll even hurt your ability to send out emails later on because, the algorithm knows that they will set you up as a spammer, and that's what you don't want to have happen. So
Right.
I use Raphonic to actually find those potential podcasters and do in combination, not just email, but also LinkedIn outreach as
Hmm.
well. And a lot of times you'll find these individuals on LinkedIn, you can reach them, connect them directly
Hmm.
without having to go through email, because a lot of times they'll go to spam filter, but on LinkedIn it gets directly to that individual. So
Right.
that's an example of how and you can create, like with ChatGPT, a prompt for that purpose.
Hmm.
And you can go ahead and analyze a podcast, look for certain features, and suggest, 4 or 5 titles that would be of interest to the podcaster.
Hmm.
And that's the approach. It's a slow and steady kind of wins the race in that way. So,
Yes, and that was actually going to be my next question is when it comes to the people who have worked with you or you find them that are getting the most value out of your work, is it the people that are focusing on the long term that you're able to say, hey, this isn't going to happen overnight, or is there an element there where you want someone that may be needing short-term success? How do you balance out the ideal client for you to work with?
well, the important thing is that you have to optimize the profile. That's number one. If you don't do that, any outreach is just going to be a waste of time, because
Right.
people are going to really judge you based on what you have. So when you take a look at, for example, let's say in your LinkedIn profile, now you have a picture of yourself, but it's not a headshot. It's actually a distant shot, and you should really get more of a headshot portrait. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be the first thing to do, is invest in money to get a headshot that looks professional and really represents who you are.
Right.
And same thing with the background image, focusing on some key points that you want to share with people that'll be effective for them. Other things to include also, in addition to that, is your headline that you want to convey. So, ChatGPT, for example, could search for keywords that people are searching for. So let's say if you're looking for a guest, you may want to include that on your headline, or
Hmm.
you want to include other things that may attract potential guests for your show, or anything you want to do as an outreach, you want to include that. And ChatGPT will find those keywords to put in there, so make sure that it gets sticky for those who are going onto your profile who don't know you from a hole in the wall, for example.
Right.
That's just one option over there. Also, things to look at when you're doing it, look at experience. Expand upon the experience section that you have. That's important. A paragraph or two will be more descriptive for people, and that will be helpful to share with people, just looking at that. In addition to that, join groups on LinkedIn. Are you part of any groups at
Yeah.
all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you can join up to 20 groups on LinkedIn, and be selective in the groups that you're joining. Look for groups that usually have a sizable amount of people or followers in the group is key. In addition to that, I would say to list any skills that you have, any awards that you've done, and most importantly is getting recommendations. So if
Mhm.
anybody's used your services, love what you're doing, there's no reason why they can't have that available for you for the to look at. And that's also good for your website too, because you can share that with people on the website, and they know these are real people. So that's just the starting point right off the top.
Right. And well, first of all, thank you for sharing all that because you're right. When it comes to, and by the way, the LinkedIn account I had, this is a newer one because the one a previous about a year and a half ago was hacked. So I had to re-up and start all over, which I now I have the double verification before you sign in, all that kind of stuff. So that has helped out a great deal too. But when it comes to, I guess the question now would be when it comes to the advantage that you're teaching, like it's because I'm looking at your book now, I'm looking at it says the LinkedIn advantage. What are now that kind of have it out there, what are some of the results that you've been able to provide for the people that you've worked with? And just in case anybody's listening and they kind of want to work with you and stuff like that.
Well, the results have been extraordinary. I found that I was working with one client who really was having problems in doing any outreach. And what we did was we worked on his profile, optimized it, have him do a great headshot photo, worked on his background image. We worked on his experience section. We focused in on being proactive with recommendations. And he was able to gain probably close to 1,000 new followers within that week as a
Hmm.
result of some of the actions we did. We helped create a newsletter, which was great. And he attracted followers to that newsletter because that was really what he wanted to approach. He was focusing on estate attorneys
Hmm.
and financial planners of wealthy individuals. So
Hmm.
he wanted to target those individuals. So his profile had to look the part. He had to look like a professional that was really someone who could solve problems. And he was impressed by the results we got. We helped develop a newsletter. We help focus on groups to join, and also we focus on creating videos which would help to attract a lot of people because videos is really what LinkedIn loves. I mean, the algorithm, you post a video on there, you're going to get pretty much a lot of LinkedIn love from that because of the fact that very few people do videos, and the key sweet spot is 90 seconds.
Right. Man, you're teaching me a lot on this. There's a whole lot you're teaching me when it comes to because right now I currently because I was very hesitant to come back to LinkedIn, but now that I'm back, now I'm considering deciding to go with the premium brand too because I'm every day I'm getting emails saying, all right, you got 54 views today, you got this amount of views. I'm getting more views, but then the question becomes, how do I find out who's viewing it? How do I reach out to them? How do I make sure I establish a system that's going to put me in front of more business owners every single day?
Well, the premium versions, like I use Sales Navigator, does show you who has actually looked at your profile. And sometimes it could be good in a way. Most of the time, people reviewing your profile are looking at things to sell to you, so they may not exactly be your ideal
I get
client.
those messages a lot.
Yeah, and there's a way in your profile to actually limit that amount of spam that comes in, so you
Hmm.
can do it to a point where you don't have to be going online every time you're getting like 50, messages from people who want to sell you things. You know,
Hmm.
there's the things I could show you to eliminate that altogether, which is great. So you can be more proactive on LinkedIn. But again, if you're doing any kind of outreach, I would again recommend work on the profile optimization first, so it looks professional. So when you ever do your outreach, the people will check out your profile. Other things you can consider is follow influencers. So if someone that you follow or respect, find out when they're posting. And there's a way to do that. And I show you in my book that you can actually know when they're posting and set up a way that you'll be notified immediately as soon as they post so you can post after them
Hmm.
and usually respond not saying things like thanks for sharing but being more elaborate. You can even use ChatGPT to go ahead and analyze that post and reply
Hmm.
to that post in a way that's in a casual tone. For example, do
Oh,
a
yeah.
chat
Yeah.
and maybe even ask a question or two, and you'd be quite surprised that these people are very receptive because most of the time when these people post nobody really responds to the post.
Exactly.
Unless they're like an influencer with thousands of people. But if you're connected with people who may be your clients of yours and they're posting, a lot of times, most of the time, they don't even respond to it. A lot of people just post and ghost. Just go ahead and
That's
don't follow up until a week or
yeah.
later.
Yeah,
And
a lot of people do it just to say they did. But when it comes to the uncomfortable work, the following up and the making calls and the making sure a deal gets done, a lot of people don't want any of that work. But it is important that, like you said, that you do reach out to people and then you do follow up and things of that nature. So can you just tell people, as I'm going to kind of close you, I want to be very respectful of your time. Can you tell people a little bit about what's next, what's coming down the pipeline, if they want to work with you further? What would be the best way to get in touch with you? I'm assuming LinkedIn, but I'll let you talk.
yeah. Well, of course, get my book, which is available. You can see the QR code in the back.
Right.
Go ahead and scan the QR code. It'll give you access to the book on Amazon, which
Hmm.
is available currently right now in hardcover. The paperback will be released July 4th, as well as the audiobook version, which will be available on Spotify and I believe Audible, as well as the paperback ebook. So that's just one example. You can reach out on my website, linkedvantage.com.
Hmm.
You have access. I have a free ebook that helps you to optimize your profiles, so you can go ahead and subscribe to that.
Hmm.
And I also have courses on my website that you can also look into to learn how to optimize your profile, where you can do it on your own.
Hmm.
So there's really different modules available to understand features, and
Right.
also outreach as well. So those are just ways to reach out. So happy to help.
Yes, the fortune is, oh, and remember too, though, the fortune is in the follow up, excuse me. The fortune is in the follow up. So, the final thing I do out to close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. Pretend you are back in the insurance world during those 3 decades. It's a rough day. You're not getting your sales. Pretend that version of you has come into the Zoom room. Give him some words of encouragement, and we'll officially close.
Words of encouragement, don't give up. The key thing is
Hmm.
persistency, which is what I was practicing 30 years ago.
Right.
And I realized that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Hmm.
There's advancements occurring that you'll be amazed at. So, stay the course, don't give up, and you'll be true. In the end, you'll find out that if they told me 30 years ago I was going to be an author, I'd say you're crazy. But
Right.
nowadays it's like it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
But back in those days, it would have been beneficial. But even
Yeah.
nowadays, I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to produce information so people could read and enjoy and benefit from my knowledge. So yeah.
And, and that is it. So again, as the promise of the show, whatever the challenges, whatever the difficulty is, we're here to indirectly tell you you are not going through it alone. Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.